Hello and welcome to the 52 Coffees podcast. I am Cindy Williams, your host, and I am so thankful that you are here today because we are going to have a powered filled conversation. Every week, I invite on extraordinary women who are living exceptional lives, who are advancing daily, who are achieving their dreams. And 52 Coffees podcast is actually sponsored by Lead My Life, which is a dynamic coaching platform and community for women who are ready to unlock the life of their dreams. If that sounds like you, please go to leadmylife.com to find out more. So I have been waiting for this. I'm so excited. I have Shannon times two here today. I have the Shannons, and we are going to unpack wealth of health. And in the month of June, in Lead My Life, we are really focusing in on environment and how making tweaks in our environment can really change us in all areas, in our relationships, in our health, in our time, in our money. And today we're focusing in on health. So I have Shannon Cline here today, who is a dynamic health coach who had a weight loss journey and health journey of her own. I have Shannon Peebles, who we've had on before, and talking about her health journey, but we're all going to be discussing how environment impacted our health journey. So welcome, ladies.
Hi. Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, Shannon Klein, should I call you Shannon C?
Sure.
Shannon B, why don't we start with you and just tell us a little bit about your journey to health and what was the catalyst to change for you?
Wow. Thanks for having me, first of all. But yes, the catalyst to change for me, I think, was the physical deterioration of what was happening in my own body. I'm a former college athlete. I am 6'1". I say 5'13". It makes me feel better about myself. So I know what it's like to work hard and work out and all the things. And I ended up putting on 85 extra pounds on my body. And when it started to affect my health, I had fatty liver, I had pre-diabetes, I had high cholesterol, plantar fasciitis was literally debilitating for me, all because of the weight. There just came an aha moment for me that I did not want to have the same legacy that my father left, which was dying from obesity. I found him at age 13 on our living room floor. He had
Mm.
died of cardiac arrest, which was a direct result of his health choices. And I could see myself starting to slow down, starting to become invisible in my own life. And I knew that I needed to make a change.
Wow, that's so powerful. I love to be in the company of a tall woman. I'm
That's
5'10"
good.
myself. I love the 5'13".
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, there you go.
Yeah. But what a powerful story, seeing a loved one, in their choices and how that impacts us, seeing
Yeah,
somebody else go through it. And to be an athlete, I mean, both of us share that in common too. I mean, it's funny because I've done half Ironmans and triathlons and all these things, and I never consider myself an athlete. It's like, oh, that's for somebody else.
wow.
Funny, but to
Yeah.
somebody else, and we do, it's like, I think because we're tall, we start putting on those secret pounds,
Hmm.
stresses in life and making bad choices and things like that, and all of a sudden we're like, oh, wow.
Yes,
And the body starts talking to us in a very loud way, sending us some alarm bells. So
that's right.
thank you for
Yes.
sharing that with us, Shannon B or P. Why don't you tell us what was your journey and kind of what your catalyst for change was?
My catalyst for change was coming through on the other side of something really, really hard within our family, and somebody really challenging us about our own health while they're even in the midst of their journey. I would say the choice for change really came because I saw someone near and dear to me fight hard to get on the other side of unhealthy to healthy in a different capacity of their life in a different realm. And then seeing somebody else make a change that was significant in their life losing 80 something pounds that I knew and felt safe reaching out to, I was able to then have the moment and the space to think through, and God just really said it's time, here's a path. And I was able to lose 120 pounds. And so the catalyst was just seeing somebody do something hard to
Mhm.
persevere through it and have success on the other side, and at the same time having somebody challenge me about where we were at, my husband and I. And then my husband came along and also lost 135 pounds. So our life was then radically changed, and that allowed us to continue to move beyond that weight loss to a whole new lifestyle.
Incredible, incredible. I know for me, just my own catalyst for change. So I had a moment in time back in 2017 where I knew I was about 30 pounds overweight. And it was more of a mindset and emotional eating. We were going through some trauma within our family. And I was using, I'm going to call it closet eating as a way to cope. You know, everyone on the outside would say, "Oh, Cindy's so healthy. Look at her. She's, doing all these things, running." And but I would use eating chocolate or famous cookies or drinking soda secretly to kind of massage the hurt in my life. And
Mm.
it was actually my husband, Todd. We've always been what we would consider fit, but I was eating and consuming so much sugar that I was just putting on the weight. And it was my husband Todd. He's like, you know what? We need to make some changes in our diet. The kids are gone now. We don't have to put packaged food in the pantry. And it was like this aha moment. Oh, we get to choose what goes in there. We get to choose what we eat. Not like we did before, but you know what I mean. The kids, they throw all the secret bombs into the grocery cart. They just do. So it was at that point, and I actually was able to get back to my high school weight, which, at age 50, I didn't even think that was possible. I always kept,
Yeah.
oh, you know what? I'm just entering midlife. This is how it is. I'm just gonna always be, 30 pounds overweight. There's no way to lose it. And within 6 months, it was gone just by making healthy choices, just by eliminating sugar, just by
Mhm.
doing that. So it's beautiful. I mean, Shannon, see, you had your catalyst was actually watching just the destructive choices really take the life of someone you love.
Mhm.
And Shannon, yours came from just really just a positive challenge in watching somebody you love making really hard choices to the positive for themselves and going, you know what? I can do that too.
Yeah.
Why not me? Why not my husband and I? And so beautiful, beautiful journey. What would you say, like, either one of you can answer this or both. Where does motivation come play into that? Because there's a plenty of ladies who are sitting there. This is where I was too, of okay, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. And maybe you do it tomorrow and then you blow it. And you just can't get it going because you keep blowing it. Where
Mm.
does motivation play into the healthy choices?
This might be a not so popular thing to say, but it doesn't.
Mm,
Motivation does not play into this because motivation will wane. You,
mm,
it's a discipline, it's a commitment to yourself, to the Lord. It's when we get in that motivation mindset, that's where we get in trouble because that's where we all start. We all want it, like we all have the desire. The motivation though will quickly wane the minute you stay up too late, the minute you have something busy on your calendar, the minute something doesn't go as planned, then all of a sudden the motivation. But when you are committed and you establish discipline in the environment that you're in, there is a whole nother thing. And when you're committed to another person, when that mind shift changes to be like, I'm motivated today to, I am disciplined. I am a disciplined person. I will walk this out because I've made a commitment. That's what has to shift.
I'm so thankful that you answered that way. I'm so
Oh,
cool because that is so true. It's the motivation. It's like when we go to an event. It's like, a conference for 3 days
Yes.
and we get all charged up and going. And the second we walk out the door, life attacks us and it's like gone. Everything that we thought we were going to do is gone. But it's that motivation gets you going, but that discipline keeps you growing. That's the, John
That's
Mack
good.
quote. And it's so true that you have to be committed. You just
Mhm.
have to say, okay, I'm going to do the thing. I'm going to do the
Mhm.
thing regardless of what life throws at me, regardless if I fail over and over and over again. I'm going to keep doing the thing.
Mm.
So cool that you answered. Shannon, what are you? I see you
Yeah,
smiling. What
I
are you
was
going to
going
say?
to say something similar in a different way. I think sometimes we have moments where we're inspired.
Mm,
I was inspired by my coach Polly's before and after, and that inspired me and it gave me that little glimmer of hope that it was possible. But what had to happen was the action.
mm,
And I had to really sit and for my health and my current reality of what really stunk in my life and why were the choices I was making so important, more important than the momentary pleasure.
mm,
So I really had to weigh out what was causing me to drown. It was 120 pounds of extra weight. It was the inability to do things like go up and down stairs simply. It was wearing size 24 and where I was blowing out of them. It was almost 300 pounds. And I
mm,
had to say, I hate this about my life.
mhm,
What can I do to change? And then I had to build the structure around me that allowed me to have results because the results gave me strength and it helped me be more determined in reaching my goal at the end. And it's not even a goal at the end because we don't want to end, right? But reach some benchmarks along the way. And it's really determination and grit, which is discipline.
mhm,
And also understanding that what we eat is a physiological trigger within ourselves. So it doesn't come down to willpower and it doesn't come down to motivation. It comes down to protecting what I'm putting in my body. I don't have the triggers and trips of, say, the physiological response of a craving, getting clean and sober. Shannon and I've done a lot of work on this from certain foods like sugar and
mhm,
then not having the cravings really helped me along the journey as well to be disciplined because I wasn't being driven by that force. Instead, I was being driven by what I wanted so
mm,
badly as an outcome.
mhm, mm.
Mm. It's
There's
good.
so much to unpack there. That
Mhm.
could be just like a whole little session right there. I want to ask you, you said something a few um moments back. How do you deal with hating? You said hating what you felt like versus, and you can rephrase it how you said it, and hating yourself. How do you, because that we start just internalizing it. It's just, we hate ourselves, or separating that. I hate how I feel right now, and I want that to change.
I believe it's because I know that God created me and I know I am uniquely made and there are so many other good parts that one part doesn't discount all that God has for me. However, it's holding me back. So
Mm,
I did not struggle with hating myself
mhm,
as much as really disliking where I was at.
mhm.
Is that, does that make sense? So
Mhm.
It totally does. What
and
a
I
beautiful
felt
concept.
valued by my family. I felt valued at work. I felt valued and loved unconditionally by my husband.
Mhm,
And bigger and broader than that was this love of a heavenly father that
mhm,
even though I wasn't where God designed me to be, I
mhm,
was still being used. I was still valuable, but I could rise to the occasion if I was able to take care of this area of my life,
mhm.
like I saw somebody in our life do. It didn't
Right.
devalue that person in our life because of the struggles. They
Mhm,
still were worthy. They still were so uniquely made, yet they had this big struggle that had to get worked through to come to this place of even being a better person that God designed.
Yeah. So that's such a beautiful answer. I think of, God knew us before we were even formed. He
Hmm.
already has the vision of who we will be. He already knew that this was part of your journey for all three of us.
Hmm.
And you held on to that, Shan. I feel like, and a lot of people don't. A lot of the women I talk to, it just becomes this pattern of just self-loathing.
Hmm.
You were able to hold on to the part that God loves me. He created me. I want to be the best version of who He created me to be because I know He has something more for my life. Beautiful answer. Shannon C., what would you add to that?
Yeah, I just think that that's incredible. And I would agree with you. I think that a lot of people, this is how the enemy, you just get so mad because what Shannon had during that time was such a strong anchor in her faith that she could
Hmm.
still see herself the way God saw her. But
Yeah.
what happens when we get into that self-loathing is that all of a sudden we've got shades over our eyes and we lose sight of what God says we are, no matter what size we are. And if
Hmm.
the enemy can keep our heads down, if we don't know the full potential of who we are and the love, the unconditional love, what Shannon's describing is unconditional love. But a lot of times when we get into that self deprecating behavior and continue to feed it and feel, defeated because we cannot get a hold of this thing, then our eyes come off of the Lord and into ourselves, and the navel gazing starts about our weaknesses. We don't see our strengths. We don't see where we are in that. And it's so awesome to hear Shannon say that even at my biggest, I still felt valued. I still felt that. But
Yeah.
for a lot of us, that goes away. And that's what the enemy is wanting. He wants us to be just broken down, chipped away to nothing. And so if we can actually gain a hold of that, even prior to getting on a health journey, to really understand your worth and how much you're loved unconditionally, it can change. It can change the whole outcome of what we're doing.
Yeah, I think it fuels it. I think
Yes.
just knowing that you are loved, that there's something better ahead,
Hmm.
and you can keep your eye on that prize. It just fuels that desire. Like, okay, I'm gonna do it one more day, one more day, one more day. I'm
Yes.
gonna do this, and it's that driver force.
Yes.
Well, let's change a little bit and talk about environment. Um, Growth thrives in conducive surroundings, right? So we know that if we're in an unhealthy place, in an unhealthy environment, that there needs to be a shift. We're living in a small pot with these limited beliefs and all of this, and we need to shift to a bigger pot. What did that look like for both of you? A change in environment.
Go ahead, Shannon.
Um, a change in environment really just meant, first of all, providing within my own home structure,
Mhm.
um, things that were I was seeing first and foremost. In my fridge, it was now water and not soda. In
Yeah.
my cabinets, there was not the cookies and the crackers and the things. We just kind of cleaned ourselves out from that. It was eating out and choosing different things slowly but surely. We ate out a lot and we traveled a lot, so it was like pre-planning ahead. How could I eat consistently? And okay, I'm going to look at that menu and this is what I'm going to order. I'm not even looking at the menu when I get to the restaurant to be tempted. um I I was reading something today just about inch by inch you make these decisions until it's like really habitual. So
Mhm.
one thing we do is we often order the protein. May I have salmon, but I'd like double the vegetables and you keep the potato.
Yeah.
And that at first was a very conscientious decision. Like we had to say, okay, we're going to ask for double the vegetable and we're going to ask for, these things that serve us. But now it's just automatic. Like now we don't even think twice about it.
Right.
And so that's how those surroundings helped. But it was an intentional act
Mm.
to remove the things that were tripping me up consistently first. That's the first step for me to make that choice. And then along the way, there were so many other things. But
Oh
Shannon,
yeah.
I bet you have other things.
Yeah, I
Oh,
just unpack that just for a second because you talked about eating out. And that's a big thing, especially if you travel, or I mean, Todd and I are in the restaurant business, and that's a big thing. And I love that you said it's the intentionality because that's what we had to change too. We had to, even before, we're driving on the way. Okay, what are we going to order? What are we going to do? Really like planning in our minds substituting, say I'll have more vegetables and less of this. I'll have, you know, and just really planning. So that's a great way that, yeah, you can still go out, but now it's actually just enjoying the company. It's just
Mm.
we go out because we enjoy sitting down and enjoying friends or you know each other, and it's not so much about the food anymore. It's about
I
the relationship.
I have a quick story about that. I was early in my plan. I hadn't really lost weight. I had not told anybody I was doing it except my husband. And so my sister-in-law comes into town and she's last minute. She's like, "Hey, do you want to go have lunch?" And I'm like, "Yeah, oh." And I was like, and I said, "Actually, I had literally, I said, I've just eaten, but I'm happy to join you." And so I went, and so I had to set myself up first by
Yeah.
speaking out where I was at and what I was doing. So then my intention was very clear. I wasn't going to eat. And then what else did I have to do? It was chips and salsa. It was Mexican food. So I sat as far away as I could. And when it got delivered in front of me and I just moved it farther away. And then I took my hands and I actually sat on them. And I just sat there and visited.
Yeah.
But that was intentionality. It was creating a surrounding in that space by having the words and telling my people and then moving those things away from me so it wasn't the easy grab and eat.
What great advice. Great
Hmm.
advice. Shannon, see, what do you want to say about that? I see you nodding your head.
Oh my gosh, it's just so good, right? I mean, at the end of the day, this is my story, right? So it's not going to resonate with everyone, but I will say when I chose to get sober, and I do mean that sobriety, it is food sobriety for me. I had to take it just like an alcoholic would. I'll just use that for the example. If
Mhm.
I know that I struggle with alcohol, I would not meet someone in a bar. If
Right.
I know that like Shannon just said, if there's certain trigger things that you're doing, you control that environment, not the other person. Don't
Mhm.
put yourself in rooms where I've had to turn down so many events while I was right in the early stages of this because I know my self control. If I eat or smell those trigger foods, it's not going to end well for me because I know that that's what does that. But I feel like most importantly, the environment shift was in my own mind
Mm.
that I came out of a deprivation mindset into what do I get to have, not what do I not get. So
Mm.
if I'm choosing health, I'm choosing this because I will have less pain in my joints. I'm choosing this because it's not this, I can't have that because I'm on this thing, or I can't have, because that's a deprivation thing. And we start
Yeah.
to really feel that. So the environment, not only around us, like tangibly, but in our own thoughts, and really, truly, I can't do this on my own strength. I
Yeah.
have to invite the Lord into this. Otherwise, it does become a diet mentality. It's what I'm doing, and I'm having the willpower, and I'm strong about this. But I have to be like, Lord, I need you. I am hopeless and helpless without you. I need you today. I want you to be the bread. I have a joke. Somebody made me something, a little trivet for my kitchen that says, Jesus, the only carb I need. He's the bread of life. He's the one I need when I'm having those cravings. He's
Yeah.
the one that I need to put in there. So my environment has got to be surrounded. I need my little buffer of Jesus. I need him with
Mm.
me when I'm doing all these things. So
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah. It's such both of you such great advice. I mean, for me, it's kind of echoing our Shannon C there is I had to have a picture of whole foods and start to enjoy vegetables and just everything just one ingredient and that just became my mantra in my mind of I'm going to have olive oil and I'm going to have enjoy spinach and veggies that I never enjoyed before and would never
Mhm.
like eat. I'd put cheese on them and ranch and all this stuff, and it was hard at first, but I had this vision that it was eating clean foods and my arthritis, because I was had autoimmune diseases throughout I mean fibromyalgia, rheumatoid arthritis. At one point they said you may have 18 years left to live if you continue in this direction with your autoimmune disease. And I just kept thinking of them just running through my body and just creating this clean environment,
Mm.
the cells
So
being
good.
happy.
Yes.
Going, it's clean. When I would drink water, I would envision, instead of soda, I'd envision water going through my cells and cleaning the cells out. And it just became this thing, this as unto the Lord. Just how would they eat back in biblical times? They didn't
Hmm.
have fast food. They didn't have the Green Mermaid, which was my big thing, Starbucks. It was clean food. So yeah,
Hmm.
beautiful with that. I want to touch on, and I told you this before, I was studying a little bit. I was writing an article on breathing this week, and I was diving into the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system, those two together. And I know, Shannon, see, you're a master at this. So forgive me if I'm saying it wrong, but what
No.
stuck with me was the parasympathetic nervous system is the rest and digest. It's where all the life sustaining functions take place. And that when we're sitting down at the table and we're actually resting and leaning into our meal, leaning into relationship, connecting eye to eye, that's where the best digestion takes place. And I just found that correlation so fascinating. So you want to talk on that for a minute?
Oh my goodness. Yeah. The breathing part of it too, right? So many
Mhm.
times, I mean, I was sharing with you that I did massage therapy for 20
Yeah.
years. Part of it while I would do treatment massage was the
Mm.
breath work, because oftentimes if we're in public or something and someone takes a deep breath, what's our first response? What's wrong?
Yeah. Are you okay?
No, I'm actually just breathing. Like we're
Yeah.
actually supposed to be taking these deep breaths in, because
Mm.
it does do things literally physiological in our body, in our organs, when we actually oxygenate ourselves. And so I think that you're right on with that. Sitting down, taking breaths even before, and being intentional with that brings a calm, instead of like horking everything down on the run, in the car, whatever we're doing. It just amps us up, and there's nothing with our, I mean, that's why a lot of people have some gut issues, gut health, because things are not moving the way they were intended to do. So I love that you said that about the connection, the eye to eye connection, the slowing down. Nobody does Sunday dinners even anymore. I mean, that used to be a thing. Can we bring those back, ladies? Let's start something here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was sharing that Megan just came back from France, our daughter, and she's like, Mom, they spend like 2 to 3 hours eating dinner. We were trying to get a quick meal on the go and you can't. And I thought how beautiful that is.
Hmm.
How beautiful to really sit and enjoy a meal. And that's something that we can incorporate if we're intentional about it. We can incorporate that into our lifestyle too. Shannon P.
Oh, I don't think I
Yeah.
can add much to y'all. I do know that stress will cause us to maybe be in a state that puts our defenses down. And
Mm,
we often will respond in a way that's what we call below the line. And so,
mhm,
one way to get ourselves back is to acknowledge what we're feeling,
mhm.
what we want, and stopping challenging ourselves and then moving forward. And breathing is part of it. That's actually an action you can take in a surrounding of people that's often our stress, right? Or so healthy surroundings are not only our physical space, it's our personal relationships. And
Right.
so um, I absolutely believe in that slowing down, putting your body, getting your brain back engaged, not flipping your lid and getting it back to where it needs to be able to make the choices that serve your health.
Yeah, that is super good points. I tend to run a little bit more on the anxious side, in that high stress mode. And one thing I've done in the last year is, and this is why I was writing the article on breathing, was breathe in courage, breathe out fear. Breathe in, and learning how to take those deep, long breaths. And when I'm going into a meeting where I'm like anxious about, it's just like a nerve-wracking situation, it's something that you have in your tool belt. Nobody needs to know that you're doing it. And you can sit there and relax and, lean into the moment, breathe in the courage, breathe out the fear. Your breath is something that God's given you, right? It's our breath of life. And I when I was writing this article, I found it very interesting. We can go days and days without food. We can maybe go a few days without water, but how long can we go without our breath? Yeah, a minute, 2 minutes, three, if we've
Hmm.
practiced it, it's that
Hmm.
breath of life. So cool, so cool. Thank you for diving into that with me, a little
Yes.
out on the science. I'm going to say a quote, and I want you both to give me your take on this. So, confidence is the ability to keep the promises that we make to ourselves. That's Ed Milet says that. That's his definition. So, how do you think that plays into this journey that we are on towards our healthiest self? The promises that we make to ourselves, keeping them.
I love that quote because, especially as women,
Yeah.
we will promise and keep our word to everyone all the time, never failing to the point where it can get us sick. I mean, we're overcommitting, we're promising everything, but we do let ourselves down all the time and we don't think about it. We don't take that seriously. If that mind shift changed, if we actually prioritize that, I'm so sorry I'm not able to do that. Thank you so much for thinking of me, but I've already made a commitment to myself. And
Yeah.
that's where my confidence is that I'm committing and holding my word to myself.
Mm-hmm.
There comes that the God-given gifts that he's given us will start to actually manifest because we're not overdoing it. We're not burning ourselves out on the things. We're actually keeping our word is everything.
Yeah.
It's literally unto the Lord again. It's
Right.
really that he's usually put that in there and we're cheating ourselves by not keeping our word. I love that quote. I love it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, when you mix it with, yes, God is our confidence, and that's what fuels us. But there are those we make promises to ourselves, and we shortcut ourselves all the time. And I
Mhm.
love what you said, to take care of everybody else and pour ourselves out on everybody else. But when it comes to us, we're like, oh, that's okay. I'll put that off so I can take care of this.
Mhm.
Shannon, what would you say?
Well, when you're learning to ride a bike, is it a perfect journey?
No, I've
No,
never
you're
riffed.
always falling, you're teetering, you're afraid to stop. I mean, I just rode a bike for the first time in 30 years, just like a summer ago, and I was terrified and I was all shaky and I'm like, oh my gosh, there's an intersection coming. How am I gonna stop? And then how do I get started again? Like, I mean, it was really kind of sad. But the point is that the more I did it, the more confident I got. So this
Mhm.
year when I was back in Atlanta with my son, it was his birthday and we went for an early morning bike ride and I wasn't terrified because I'd practiced it, because I had built up the strategies and the things in my head to know, okay, I'm going to stop, and yeah, the pedals up, it helps me get started sooner. Little things, right? And trusting my son in the journey.
Mhm.
And so I think about that with ourselves. As we practice, we get better. And when we get better, we get stronger. And
Mhm.
that builds confidence. It builds security in knowing how you're going to act, knowing what you're going to say, what you're going to do that's going to keep you going in the way. So, confidence can be like how you feel about yourself, but it can also be the security in knowing the actions and how to move about in that space
Mm.
to secure yourself for what you desire. And
Mhm.
it's absolutely, it's crucial to your journey. It builds your disciplines, it builds your habits.
Yeah.
And it's not a perfect journey, people. We're going to be teetering, we're going to be shaky,
Yeah.
we're going to be
Yeah.
freaking out. Oh my gosh, there's a birthday party coming and they're going to have all my favorite things. And yet, over the course of time, over habits and practicing strategies and doing them, you're going to go into any event and have confidence to achieve what you really are desiring for yourself. And I love what Shannon said. I wish you could say it again about just confidence in knowing. I don't even remember what it was, but you just something what you said was just really resonated with me about just moving forward and knowing who we are and that it will build over time. It's really
Yeah.
powerful.
Yeah, it is that building over time. It's a thousand baby steps, and not getting, sometimes we look so far ahead, we all had different numbers that we were trying to get to. And when we think of the end result, it's too much. It's so overwhelming that we never even get started. And so that's true. And I have a definition for confidence, Shannon, that that it's a quiet inner knowledge that we are capable. That's how I define it. And then I heard Ed Milet's and I'm like, oh, that's really cool too. But it's preparation. We're capable because it's that preparation day by day by day by taking the intentional steps, practice that gives us that confidence. And then once we get to what, hey, I got this, then it's something new. Then we start
Mm,
working on the next thing and the next thing, and we're never quite there. And that's the beauty of life, really.
yeah.
Yeah. So Shannon, today in your maybe it was today, maybe it was yesterday, on your Facebook post, you put, are you ready? And you listed all these things. Are you tired of being uncomfortable in this? It was such a great post. I loved it, because I remember when I had the 30 pounds to lose it, I didn't want to wear shorts. I was uncomfortable wearing shorts. I was uncomfortable, doing all these different things. And I'm like, just stop already and do the thing. So what would you both say to the woman who's just like sitting on the fence and like, okay, it's June, it's time to, oh, once again, we've got the beach, we've got all these different things. I'm so uncomfortable in my own skin. I don't want to do this anymore. What would you say to them today?
Well, I would say that really sit in that. Are you uncomfortable?
Mm-hmm.
And which uncomfortable is worse? Is it that it's just going to keep you going and perpetuate? We're making a choice. Action and inaction are both choices. But would you
Mhm.
like to choose things that are going to get positive results for you and move you forward? Or do you want to just keep choosing that space you're stuck? And choice, it's hard. Commitment is hard, but we're committed to either staying where we're at and failing and probably going backwards, or we're committed to choosing things that serve our health and we get the results and we get to move forward. So
Mm-hmm.
it is hard. It
Yeah.
is not an easy decision, but we get to choose our hard. And
Yeah.
I got to the place where I was this was so hard, and I would rather choose these choices that I have to make so intentionally, but move forward and get the results and have a new perspective on life.
Yeah. Yeah. Other side of discipline is freedom. That I always tell that myself. If I can do the hard thing today, then I can have choices tomorrow. But if I do the easy thing today, there's no choices for tomorrow. So
So
it's
good.
it's harder. Shannon, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I just think I agree with that. I think that we all know when our enough is enough.
Mhm.
So that will look different. You could see somebody and think, gosh, all this stuff's happened, but it's not enough. Your enough hasn't been your enough. Has it been that your health hasn't been affected? Maybe that's what it's going to take, like it did for me.
Mhm.
But I think a big epiphany that I'm having too is when I was fluffier,
Mhm.
there was protection from some stuff in my life. And I didn't really want to face that. So as I started shedding weight, I don't know that I was prepared for what was to come because that was my comfort. That was my drug of choice. That's what I used. And I just said that too. To feel full meant I didn't have to feel. So
Mhm.
if I filled and I was like a volume eater, so I like the feeling of feeling full.
Mhm.
If I was full, I didn't have to feel. So I
Mhm.
think coming to that realization that take the small wins, start somewhere. It doesn't mean that you're all in or you're all out or you're on or you're off. It really means, can you walk? Can you not circle the parking lot for a half an hour? Can you park in the farthest place and take a few more steps today? Can
Mhm.
you replace and drink water first thing in the morning? Can you celebrate those wins? Because again, like we said, being honest and truthful and keeping commitments to ourselves, if we don't tell another person, there's accountability right there. I
Oh,
can
yeah.
say that I want to have, half my body weight in ounces of water, or I want to walk 10,000 steps. But if I don't tell anybody and I don't do it, man, I'll do it tomorrow.
Yeah.
So I think that the accountability piece of this has to be present because otherwise we will, because that's the habit that we formed. We've
Yeah.
formed a habit of letting ourselves down and not keeping our word until our enough is enough. And
Yeah.
then we will move into that freedom.
Yeah, that's such a good point to bring up the inner circle, that accountability that we need to have, because they
Mhm.
tell us, keep the promise. You're
Mhm.
worth it. Keep going. One more day. You've got this. I call them your arm holders. They're next
Yes.
to you when you feel weak and you feel like you can't do it. You call on your arm holders, that inner circle. So thank you so much, ladies, for, I mean, just such a wealth of information and knowledge and wisdom, all kinds of things that you brought to the table today. And I want to make a little announcement here today that both of you are health coaches, and you both have had amazing journeys and have helped so many men and women just achieve their health dreams, and that it's an ongoing, as you guys, as you've discussed, it doesn't end at a number. It's
Mhm.
a lifestyle. It's a complete lifestyle change that we continue to have support around. And so I am happy to announce that I will be joining your midst and adding that little cog on the wheel of health coach to lead my life, because I believe that if we really are going to take the lead in our life, and all in our work, in our family, friends, finances, fitness, and fun, in our faith, that health is such a key component to that. So I'm excited to start working with you. And if any of you who were listening today would like to get just a health assessment to get eyes on where you stand today, and what moving forward would look like for you, you're ready. You've had enough. You want to raise the white flag in a truce and say, okay, I'm ready to take the steps. Then please reach out to me, and I will be joining forces with the Shannons
Yay!
to
Woo!
help you. So, just in closing, I appreciate you two so much. What is next for both of you? Do you have anything fun upcoming this summer? Just that's on the next ticket for you.
Oh, we have our convention that we get to go to with just all it's just amazing, like we talked about, to be in rooms where there's just like-minded people that are for you, that have walked a mile in your own shoes, and be around that. So that's going to be an
Yeah.
amazing thing too. And I also have a cruise coming up with my daughter.
And that,
Yes.
and there's that.
Yes.
Very fun, very fun. And
Yes.
Shannon, what about you?
Well, we're heading into our busy season with our orchards with cherries and apples, but all my kids are coming home for a little window of time from the East Coast. My daughter is moving back to Washington, so I'm super excited about that. What's next is my goal has just been to try to be physically active every day, something I didn't do for 30 something years. So, what's next is just trying to add to that, get stronger, and move forward in my just overall health.
I love it. Beautiful. Todd and I are going on a journey on June 15th. We'll be gone for 3 weeks, and we just bought our Starlink. So our dream, as we started to dream together, after the kids left the nest, is to be able to take what I do, what he does, on the road. So we
Mm,
are going to practice that on the mountaintops, have Zoom calls with our Starlink, and see how it works for 3 weeks.
that's great.
So that's our next. So thank you, ladies, so much. If you were listening today and something resonated with you, please subscribe. We were talking more this month on wealth in all different areas of our life. And of course, if you would like to have a health assessment, then please reach out to me in the Shannons, and we will sit down and talk with you and see what your next looks like. So thank
Mm,
you, and we will talk to you next week.
thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Bless
Thank
you
you.
guys.